Okay, on the program, he's been an overstayer for 28 years and we've failed to deport him. Now, he's been jailed for 8 years for raping a young New Zealand woman. Why is our system so hopelessly weak? And how did this man get to stay here? And why did the Greens and others support him? Also, it's Men's Health Week. In today's episode, Mike King will join us to talk mental health. Let's go. Welcome to the program.
Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan, Garner.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm Duncan, Garner. Welcome. I'm the Editor-in-Chief, and please subscribe if you can. That'd be really good. Our immigration system is an international joke and must be changed. For 28 years, this man, Amir Mohibi, has run rings around our immigration system in New Zealand, playing the system at every stage and committing more serious crimes as the years go by. Successive governments have failed to deport this guy, despite trying. The Greens and human rights groups have supported his right to stay here in New Zealand and his right to be a free man and his right not to be jailed. But they backed the wrong man in an awful era of judgment, didn't they? Because he has consistently broken our laws and committed serious offences, and he's now been sent to jail for raping a young Kiwi woman, and he's gone for 8 years. This should never have happened. Tonight, I will take you through who he is, what happened, and what needs to change in this dreadful system that we've got. We are, in short, an international laughingstock. So let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, how hopeless are our immigration laws? And how come we don't and can't deport every unwanted pest and idiot and lawbreaker and rapist and drug trafficker and general undesirable? Because we have a soft system that gives those idiots an easy go at a second, third and fourth chance, and we fail to prosecute and send them on their way. In short, we're apathetic, we're liberal, we're outliers, and other countries consider us a dribbling joke. As a result, it costs taxpayers countless millions of dollars, and it puts law-abiding New Zealand citizens at huge risk. Tonight I'll tell you about the poster boy for this, Amir Mohibi, an international con man, effectively, that has made a mockery of our system here in New Zealand, our immigration system and deportation laws. He's taken us for a ride, committed serious and heinous crimes, and still we house him, we feed him, and we have failed to do the right thing by law-abiding New Zealanders. We've let them down. At every step we've let them down. At every step he's fought deportation, and we look woefully incompetent at every chance we have had to deport him. We've failed. And it's led to this horrific rape of this young New Zealand woman. This has embarrassed us on the world stage, and the authorities' failure to do the right thing and be hard-nosed and ruthless in protecting our people and our country is just utter negligence. And the people responsible should lose their jobs. The law should be changed, and those victims of this man compensated and apologised to by the government of the day. In short, the state has failed its people on a massive scale. Australia has, without fail, sent back thousands of their people whose only link to us is that they were born here. Otherwise, they learn their criminal ways and grew up and offended in Australia. But they don't care for appeals and human rights and what might be in the best interest of a family in Australia. No way. They hire a plane and send the pricks on their way, and we get them. Some of which haven't even really had minor historic offences, really. Some of them are really small. But it's become our problem. It's cost us hundreds of millions of bucks. It's changed gang culture here in New Zealand and generally been a disaster for our communities, for increased crime and gang membership. In short, it's been the worst foreign policy ever inflicted on New Zealand, in my view, and our closest friend, Australia, did that to us. So, there's your context. Now, consider how New Zealand has treated and looked after an Iranian man who should have been sent back to Iran upon arrival here in New Zealand 27 years ago. But we lack an agreement with Iran, so what? Reach out and negotiate one. Don't put up with it. His drug offences alone would likely see him executed in Iran. Here, he's walked free. His rape of a young New Zealand woman in 2021 could have seen him publicly hung in Iran for the same offence, but here we jail him and feed him 3 times a day and protect him and provide free medical care. It's become so clear that a litany of errors and second chances, third chances led to the unnecessary rape of a young New Zealand woman, and the cost to the New Zealand taxpayers have run into hundreds of millions of dollars. Here's a timeline, and how on earth did we allow this to happen? 1. Amir Hoshang Mohibi, 52, arrives from Iran in 1997, claiming to be a refugee and a Catholic or a Christian, who would be killed if sent back to Iran. Refugee status is rejected by New Zealand for the next 28 years. Fighting deportation since 1998. He's first issued his first deportation notice in 1999. In 2000, he marries a local woman. That's a con, isn't it? And granted a temporary work visa, but he gets convicted of bigamy. 2001, work visa expires, second wife refuses to support his application to stay, and he becomes officially an overstayer. In 23, with a new partner and child, he served a second removal order and taken into custody, into jail. And he remains in New Zealand by refusing to apply for an Iranian passport, won't do it. Spends 4 years on remand, almost 4 years. Remarkably, he's granted residence in 2010. How? Why? Convicted in 2018 for importing meth. He's jailed for 10 years. He's released in 2021. Raped a young woman while on parole. Why paroled? Why release him? Who's accountable for this? Look what he did upon release. We should deport him and send him back to Iran or wherever he's come from. Simple. The Minister of Immigration should be able to deport anyone whom he or she deems or constitutes a threat or risk to our security and our society. But the Greens and human rights groups have held protests outside jail supporting this guy, arguing any measure that sees him just whisked out of the country denies his basic human rights. He gave up those years ago. They should apologise to the young New Zealander that he raped. Go and tell her about his human rights. The Greens should be embarrassed and held to account for their position on this, putting this man's rights ahead of our rights as Kiwis and our rights to be safe. He should not be our problem. Nor should we spend another cent on this idiot. We've had enough. We have enough people in need and Kiwis who need help. And Kiwis who need help should come way before this guy, who's been an overstay for 28 years. We should have put him on a plane years ago. We're a pathetic soft touch. In Australia, he'd be gone. In Iran, he'd be dead. We should have negotiated for his return in Iran. Why are we so kind? We look stupid and we're foolish at times, aren't we? We're being laughed at. It's all very well upholding human rights, but this guy gave up that privilege years ago when he violently raped and threatened to kill this young, intoxicated New Zealand woman that he met in the Auckland CBD. She woke up to him raping her and he told her to shush. And then he threatened to kill her. Truth is, we have a limp, weak and pathetic system. He should never have been in New Zealand. We give far too many rights of appeal and second chances, and as a result, we're not just a soft touch, but we're letting down every other law-abiding Kiwi and putting them at risk of harm. And we've become the laughingstock of the world. So it's little wonder that these people tried on here. Tried on New Zealand's a soft touch. We need to get tougher in our approach. If Aussies can send thousands of 501s our way, then we can send this guy back. If we can't negotiate a new international agreement, something's wrong. That's your job, I say. That's your job to the politicians. This idiot should never have been our problem. But 28 years later, he's still here. We're still paying for him, and the young woman's life has changed forever. It should have been prevented. Every New Zealand immigration minister and successive government since 1998 should hang their heads in shame for allowing this to happen. We're a sovereign nation. We write our own laws and rules. We should control who comes here and who stays. He never had the right to be here. And it's incredible how one man can consistently break our laws and then beat the entire system within the country to stay here. We're a joke, aided and abetted by the flaky human rights advocates and the Greens. The Greens are a joke. They're officially certifiable and deluded. Our naivety, our compassion has been taken for a ride. If we look stupid and weak, it's because we are. Someone in power must do something to send this arsehole home. And anyone else who tries it on, send them home too. It's well past time that we put ourselves first. Let the world know, if you try this on, you won't get away with it in New Zealand. Right now, the problem is, we're a long way from that.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, so Mike King, it's Men's Health Week, and we'll have a chat to Mike King shortly. We're diving into key topics that men don't talk about enough: mental health, lifestyle habits, and sexual health. And we can't offer medical advice. We've said that all week, and the views shared today are those of our guests. And if you've got personal health questions, please speak with your doctor or pharmacist or sort of someone professional. Joining us today, we're going to talk about mental health and how it affects people and what might be the problem. Today is Mike King, a long-time mental health advocate. He's here to talk about the issue. Mike, g'day, mate. Nice to see you.
Always great to be here, brother.
Hey, you're looking well. Hey, what motivated you to begin, to take yourself back, what motivated you to begin advocating for things like mental health, particularly around what you've talked about so much around anxiety and depression? What was it?
Well, I guess, mainly it was because no one was calling in when I was hosting a radio live show. And, I was regurgitating all the same stories as everybody else, and no one was calling in, and I was lying to everyone and saying, hey, I've got lots of calls on the line, but I'm going to go to a break now, 0800 73 465, 0800 Radio Live, blah, blah, blah. No one rang in, so my inner critic was smashing me, saying, just start swearing to all of these things, and I just fessed up, I guess, and started saying, if no one rings in, there's no one on the line. If no one rings it in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to start talking to the voices in my head, and that's what I did. And all of a sudden, people rang up, and I just found that by sharing my story, it helped me. it was like getting that huge monkey off my back, the thing that I was so scared that other people would see. Just by talking about it made me feel good about myself. What I didn't realize was the impact that it was having on other people and allowing them to share their journey. So, everyone thinks that I do this to help other people, but here we are, 13, 14 years on, and I still do it for the same reason, because it helps me.
Yeah.
If I put that mask back on, bad things start to happen. So, I start to internalize, I start to self-doubt. So, yeah, I do it for me, brother.
You were honest, Dave. So what you found was when you had no callers there, just need to be honest and say, this is a struggle. Help me out, please.
My biggest fear my whole life was that people were going to find out that I was riddled with self-doubt. I wasn't this because remember back in those days, Duncan, I was, Mr. Politically Incorrect. It was up everybody. I'd be on the radio talking to Martin Devlin going, hey, Poofda, like this person that hated political correctness and was railing against the woke society. And, once I started sharing my story, the first time I shared it with a bunch of kids, and I didn't realize the impact that my language was having until, a young suicidal Māori boy up in Northland said, I said, why do you want to kill yourself? He goes, well, first off, I'm gay. And me being me and an idiot, I went, well, wrestling with your sexuality. He goes, I'm fine with my sexuality. I said, okay, so what's the problem? He goes, every time I hear the word faggot, homo, poofter, gay boy, even from my friends who I know are joking and love me, I think, is this how society sees me? And if it is, what's the point? And that really hit home with me. And that was the first stage where I said, all right, I've got to really get out of this stand-up comedy game. I've got to get out of these, the destructive path I was on, and really change who I am and how I speak and change my actions, stop telling people what to do and show people, And in the beginning, Duncan, no one believed me. Everyone thought I was, scamming. Even one of the counselors, one of the first counselors that did the Nutters Club with me back then, he said the only reason I came on was because I thought you were full of shit and you were working a scam, and I wanted to know what it was.
Wow.
And, I came back and I said, so what do you think now? He goes, no, you're the genuine article, which surprised me. So,
yeah, it's pretty
but
powerful.
again, it's not about helping other people. That's a byproduct of helping myself.
Yeah, that's powerful. With your, from what you do now, Mike, all your work and conversations, what do you think the common misconceptions people have are about the conditions like anxiety? What are the people get wrong?
Well, people think that it's a new phenomena.
Yeah.
People think that this is just a new thing from a woke, weak society that, can't handle the pressures that we were under in our day. And it's that attitude that is making it really hard for people to come forward. I mean, and that was always my big issue, was what other people think. We spend so much time worrying about what other people think about us rather than enveloping who we are and not being shy to express who we are. We need to understand that vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. And, an example I often use to people is vulnerability is exposing yourself.
Yeah.
To situations that can, that can have a devastating effect on you. For example, we all look at Willie Apiata when he jumped out of that foxhole and went and saved those two soldiers, and as an act of bravery. It was the ultimate act of vulnerability.
Yeah.
He put himself out there, at serious risk of physical and mental harm that he is still dealing with today. So, he was at his most vulnerable then. He was at his scaredest, but he took the step. And that's how we need to reframe mental health. It is an act of bravery.
Whenever, and in this role, you speak a lot to people and, about yourself and about situations that you're in. I reckon that whenever I've presented and, things have been a bit ropey and I've been as vulnerable as I've ever been, I reckon that's when I've had the most understanding from people and the best buy-in, by just being genuine. But you can't hide it anymore. This is what's happening to me. People feel safe. People feel like they're just like me.
By you sharing that, they suddenly feel safe. It's like that old analogy at the gym where you go to the gym and you think everyone's looking at you. No one's looking at you. They're looking at themselves. They're reflections of themselves. So to be able to share, suddenly you're opening up. You've become a safe haven where someone can maybe discuss what's going on with them and recognize, hey, I'm normal. I always say to people, anyone who describes himself as normal, and who has no problems, they're the ones that need counselling.
Yeah.
Because there are more of us than there are of them.
Yeah. What do you reckon are the most common challenges that, for people, with issues like this? What are the most common challenges that they come up against, do you reckon?
The biggest battle everyone faces is a battle with themselves. The biggest bully in everyone's life is themselves. The biggest bully in my life was always with myself. So, imposter syndrome, and self-doubt, that's the biggest issue we all have. It's not about what other people can do, and looking for outside validation and outside help. It's how we see ourselves. And am I worthy and am I good enough? And, you're always going to come up against barriers. You're always going to come up with a vocal minority who want to shout you down. And the reason they want to shout you down is because they fear that you might be successful and they might be wrong. And they fear that if you had the strength to change, why didn't they? So, stop worrying about what other people think about you and worry about how you see yourself. And don't get me wrong, when you get to that stage, you still hurt when you get criticized, and you still hurt, and it's, with deep shame and anger when people say stuff. But it gets easier, and you can manage it better, and you feel better about yourself when you don't react.
Have you come across, when you talk about, other people's support or whatever, what's the best thing people can do for people that are suffering anxiety? What have you come across anything that works? Other people have said to you, or their support structures, or anything they've done, their routines or whatever that seem to make a positive difference?
Get out and face your fear.
Yeah.
What happens when you're anxious? You end up internalizing everything, so it becomes true. It's really interesting. It's the amygdala, right? That's our fight, flight, freeze response system, right? It's been there for the whole of mankind. It keeps us safe. If we didn't have that, our ancestors would have walked up to dinosaurs and go, "Oh, what the hell happened to my arm?" It keeps us safe. But we are living in a world now where we've removed most of the danger from life, right? We've moved most of the danger from life. Yet the amygdala still has to hunt for danger, but now it's finding danger in shadows.
Yeah.
It's finding danger in looks that other people are giving them, and it's sending us warning signals 24/7. So, it's just we need to get out. Some days I lie in bed. Today, I had a shit day yesterday and was about to have a shit day today, and just decided to get out of bed and come to work. And I was surprised that, how good I felt just being able to get out. I went for a walk down the road and Dominion Road there. Just get out and realize danger's not everywhere.
Yeah, I reckon that's
The
crucial,
world's
eh?
not going to end in a day.
Get off the social media, get off those websites, hop outside, feel the breeze, have a bit of sun, have some exercise. I reckon that's some of the best medicine. It's so simple, I know, but
Best thing I've ever done
yeah,
is I've abandoned social media.
yeah. I ditched it
I
too.
don't follow social. You know what I do? Like the only social media I follow is TikTok. You want to know why? Because I can tell TikTok what to show me.
Yeah.
It shows me golf videos and comedy. That's all I want. Golf videos and comedy.
Yeah.
That's all it shows me. I don't read comments because there isn't. I'm just watching videos.
Yeah.
Short videos.
Yeah.
But the other stuff, I have someone else post that shit for me. I don't bother with it.
Yeah,
Because
I'm the same as you.
Such a microcosm of society. My wife said to me once, "There's 154 comments and people are hating on you." But when I went and had a look, there were 6 people repeating everything that they were saying. It was just a waste of time.
When you're overwhelmed, Mike. When you're sort of at that point. Do you have go-tos like routines or outlets or spaces that work? You could recommend.
Well, the first thing I have to do is I tell my family, tell my wife, because there's only one thing worse than having a mental health problem. It's living with someone with a mental health problem who's not talking about it. So as soon as she knows already, but just the acknowledgement from me that I'm struggling and I'm having an issue, it helps them breathe a sigh of relief and not walk on eggshells anymore. So again, I guess, and I've just realised this just by talking to you, it's mental health is about being honest with yourself.
Yeah. You said it right at the start. Right at the start.
Foremost.
Yeah.
And not expecting everyone else to come to your pity party. It's about acknowledging, I've got the issue. It's me. What can I do first? Well, the first thing I can do is I can tell the people I care about most in the world what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Because they'll be worrying that they've done something wrong.
Yeah.
My kids, if I don't tell them why I'm upset, they'll make it about themselves. So, I think, just wish people would be more honest with their feelings. We're busy telling our kids what to do, and instead of showing them what to do, for me, for you, we're Mount Everest for our kids, right? They want to be up where we are, they want to be as good as us. But if we're constantly telling them about our achievements and constantly berating them for their lack of effort, all we are saying is you are never going to be as good. We need to lift our kids up.
Yeah, I hear you.
How do we do that? We need to talk about our struggles. We've got schools now trying to teach kids about mental health. Kids don't need to learn about mental health. They need to learn that they are normal. They need to learn that the struggles they're going through are the same struggles we continue to go through ourselves.
Yeah.
Stop telling me what to do. Show me. Don't tell me, show me. And that should be everyone's motto. If you come home from work, your kid knows when you're upset, but if you don't talk about it, he's going to think it's him. What did you do to Dad?
They go on edge.
Upset. Talk, man.
Yeah.
Hey, son, hey, Dad, how was your day? Had a terrible day, son, but, what is it about you? You can always fault when I've had a bad day. I yelled at my boss today, and I'm so, I feel bad. Come here, give me a hug. The boost that gives your kid, because it's not about them anymore. I helped my dad. And if you want to take some advice, Duncan, you want to take some advice from your kid, what would you have done in that situation, son? Wow, that's great advice. I'm going to try that tomorrow. And when you get home, you go, Dad, how was your day? My day was great. I took your advice.
I tried this technique because I was trying to get through to my son. So I'd pick him up from school and I'd say, hop in the car, and I'd say to him, for the next 10 minutes, you talk to me about anything. I'm not going to say one word in 10 minutes. So you can be guaranteed that I won't pass judgment or say anything. First day, he laughed at me. He thought I was an absolute knob. Second day, he still laughed at me, said a few words. By the end of the week, I sat there for 10 minutes listening. And it's been extraordinary. It works.
My little girl was like that. My little girl was always worried about, saying things in front of me because I'd upset. When she was 7 years old, I go, know any bad words? She goes, yeah. I go, say them. Oh, I'm not going to say them. I don't say bad words. Just say them. What's the word? What's the worst word that you know? I can't, Mummy, you know, it's our secret. I don't just say whatever. MF. I was like, whoa, what else? Seed. And she just said all of these words, I was going, rightio, you're not in trouble. And all of a sudden, it was just sort of broke down a wall.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, she felt like she could talk to me about stuff. There was nothing taboo. So it's exactly the same as what you did, and it's extraordinary, right?
Yeah, it works.
How good did you feel when your son talks to you? How good do you feel about yourself?
Well, by the end of the week, I felt all empowered, and I was saying nothing. How's
That's
that?
right.
You know, all empowered and saying nothing. Mike, over time, there has been shifts in perspective, and people now understand it a bit more. Mental health a little bit more understanding. So, how things like self-care or small shifts in those perspectives help people feel more supported, do you reckon, during the really difficult times? Do you think there's greater understanding?
Well, I think there's greater knowledge that we're not alone on this road. Whereas before it was all hidden behind a mask. I mean, you remember when you were growing up as a kid and some of the stuff that went on in your house and the neighbor's house that you didn't understand at the time, but you look back now and you go, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's clear,
there was
right?
So much going, well, because it was all masked up then.
Yeah.
And I think the mask is slowly coming off, and just by the fact that that young people requiring help via Gumboot Friday has stopped climbing. It's still there. Well, it's still incrementally climbing, but not at that huge rate that it was before. So there is a greater understanding, and it is having an effect. The fact that you can voluntarily get counselling before there's a crisis rather than waiting to be diagnosed mentally ill, has, particularly in our young ones, has really helped validate who we all are as young people. And some of the data that we're getting back from our kids is extraordinary. Like, so if mental health was a cake, the bottom tier is anxiety. Tier number 2, depression. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? If you're anxious long enough, you get depressed. The third tier is stress. And stress of circumstances, stress of age, stress of expectations. Stress is the third tier. The most interesting tier. Now, these bottom 3 tiers require a generational shift.
Yeah.
They're going to require, time. The fourth tier is all the problems. They're all cupcakes. Drugs, alcohol, we've got vaping, we've got cigarettes.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with those is we focus on those cupcakes. Why? Because we can halve a cupcake in a term of government. While we were in government, we halved the rate of smoking. No, you halved a cupcake.
Yeah.
You haven't fixed anything. So, if we all focus on anxiety and what's causing anxiety, not only among our kids but among ourselves, and talk about what is anxiety and what it is to all of us and what are the triggers, and everyone go, oh shit, that's me. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm no longer anxious about this stuff. But again, it requires vulnerability. It requires self-reflection. It requires us all to open up and be who we really are.
Yeah, and be present for those people around them. So if you're a friend, be present, Be there.
Yep. Best advice I can give anyone. Don't offer up any information when someone's talking. Just listen. Yeah. That's all you have to do. And if they ask you a question, then you talk.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
Shut up.
Okay to say, look, I don't know the solution to this, but if you want some help, I can come with you and we can go together to find it.
Yeah, it's good advice. Mike, awesome, mate. Mean catch up. You're in a good space. Yeah, you too, brother. Hey, thanks for your support, eh? And thanks for chatting.
Keep at it.
Yeah, mate. Be in touch,
Keep grinding, brother.
There's no other way. Cheers, Mike.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, it's time for Letters to the Editor, and we've got one here. We're not going to Isaac today because he's crooking a bit full of... he's still here, though. This is the great thing. He's still here. He's just muffled and not too well, and he's just an image today. Anyway, g'day Duncan. I want to congratulate and thank you for the show. Duncan, do you think the Māori Queen would be aware that Te Pāti Māori Party's antics have in the last week been on the front page of the BBC News Online? This publication is read by many millions of people worldwide, and they're such an embarrassing disgrace that I have to wonder if the Māori Queen has or could encourage the current Te Pāti Māori MPs and entourage to hand the reins over to others that will respect the position and actively participate in a positive way in and around our government chambers. In time, a new team could hopefully claw back some respect for the party and those they represent. The current Te Pāti Māori, their members are too far gone now, and that party is simply considered a burdensome rabble. If not the Māori Queen, who else has the mana? The current Māori Party members simply don't care about anybody apart from themselves, so nothing will change. Do you have her ear, Duncan? That's all from me. Thanks for reading. Regards, Jason Kewen. I don't have her ear, actually. I dealt with the Māori King once. Sadly, he died, and now it's his daughter, the Māori Queen. I don't have her ear. She will be looking at this. And the message from the Māori King before he died was, we need unity. And I don't think the Kingitanga respects what they're doing. I can't speak for them, but I don't think they don't like division. They realise we live in a country where we all have to live under the same roofs and same laws. And this form of politics from Te Pāti Māori, I agree with you, Jason. It's a rebel, it's divisive, it's separatist, and it's so aggressive and confrontational that it's turning us off. You want to hold your nose, mate. The Māori Queen, I'm sure, is watching this, and I'm sure has her views. And in time, in the right place, I'm sure she'll give them. That's what I can say. I'll keep our ear to the ground, though, in case we come across her, or in case we're able to talk with her. She doesn't really give interviews, to be honest, Jason. They never do, but they do make the odd speech. I can't imagine she's overly impressed. But thank you for your email, Jason. Really appreciate it, mate. Well done.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, so that is us, folks. Thanks for your feedback and support. Get in touch through our social media channels at Duncan Garner Podcast on TikTok and Instagram, or flick us an email at duncan@rover.nz to my team. They're sick, but still working. Oh, good on you, brother. Thank you, mate. Do it again tomorrow. Also, remember, life's no dress rehearsal. No curtain raiser. This is it. We live in one of the best places on earth. So get out, enjoy it, and don't make a bugger of yourself, okay? Have a great day. Take care, New Zealand. Ta-da.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.